Afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this regularly scheduled school board meeting on February 1st, believe it or not, 2024. And we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right into board comments and committee updates.
I had a committee meeting today for health benefits, and we got a lot accomplished. We approved our charter. God, my Boston accent totally just came out in that. Sorry. We approved our charter for the committee. We developed a survey that we potentially will be giving to employees, pending both unions reviewing it and approving it. And we also started developing questions for our first visit from school care, which is our current health insurance company, and we developed some questions to ask them on behalf of staff. And that's it so far. Next meeting's in 2 weeks.
Okay. Any other updates?
Just real quick, the budget committee met one additional time. It didn't really impact the school district at all, but they did vote to reconsider the town warrant article on the sewer system upgrades, and upon reconsideration voted to recommend that one. So
that's good. All right. Head right into student representative report.
Okay. So, boys basketball team lost to PCA yesterday. They're now 5-8. They will play Pittsfield tomorrow at 5:30. The girls, however, did beat PCA. They are now 11-3. They are going to be playing in 2 hours against Messina, and they will. They play. They play at 7 tonight. So in 2 hours, I was right. And against Messina, and they'll play also tomorrow against Pittsfield. The unified basketball team had a game last weekend, and that was the biggest crowd show out for the season for sure. We had finally like 2 rows, the student section was filled, and then we even had students in other rows because it was so crowded. That starred Alex Henry, Kian Doucette, and of course Jeremy Kennedy. The track team has their last meet before states on Saturday at Phillips Exeter Academy, and then they will have states next Sunday. And lastly, for sports, Dylan Burns won the Golden Goggles Award as he swam in every event for the Aqua Mules. Then for some clubs, Interact Club is making Valentine's Day cards for the Pines. The snowman competition, which I talked about last time, that's more up and going now that we finally had some snow and not just grass. So that competition is just started, so people can send their submissions in. The senior class is hosting a comedy night on March 23rd at 7 p.m. at the Mill Space, and the comedian, I may butcher the last name, is Mark Mochia. I don't know if anybody knows his actual
Sounded
last name.
perfect to me.
Okay.
I have no idea who it is, but it sounded perfect.
Actual last name, but I want to thank him because he's definitely been helping us out a lot, giving some of his proceeds to us. And the senior class is also holding a bake-off on February 16th. How that's going to work is anybody who wants to sign up to make a baked good and present it could just sign up. It's free. Just sign up on Sign Up Geniuses. There's a lot of posters around town in the school with a QR code. You just obviously scan the QR code and sign up for that. And anybody who wants to taste goods it's a $5 entry fee for 3 tickets, and you can use those tickets to vote for best tasting, best presentation, and most unique. And it's more money for extra tickets if you want to vote more, but there's prizes for the winners and raffles.
When is that?
February 16th. I believe it's a Saturday. And that is all I have.
Thank you very much. And ready to the superintendent report.
Thank you, Gary. I actually invited a friend, Bart McDonough, our Director of Planning and Community Development's here. At last meeting, we had a conversation about the Master Plan Committee, and I reached out to Bart to get more information. He said, hey, well, how about if I just come and talk to him? And so I said, great, I like having guests. So, Bart, go ahead. Mine?
First off, thank you for welcoming me here to speak about the master plan update. Related master plan, anyone doesn't know, it's a guiding document for how the town wants to develop, so future land use and common vision. And there's supplementary chapters that the town or plan board can adopt as well, recreation, natural resource inventory, etc. Under the RSAs. Currently, the master plan, some chapters haven't been updated for 20 years. So we have an opportunity right now through good savings throughout the past 10 years and grant opportunities to do a comprehensive update of all the chapters. So we kind of have like a resetting our baseline for the future. So part of that is also adopting new approaches as well. So the plan board has delegated, created a subcommittee that help with the consultant, which is a Stratford Regional Planning Commission, to help the board develop these chapters. And what they do, the subcommittees are actually going to break out in further teams to bring in experts in different chapters that we have that were slated to develop, just so we make sure we're casting a large net out there and getting as much information as possible in order to develop.
They do it to me all the time, though, right?
So,
That's why you have a lapel.
anyways, I asked the planning board in one of the meetings that I think it might be a great opportunity by school board members because they're a huge part of the community, and they agreed. So the ask here today is to have one of you, or a designee, come and join the subcommittee meeting and help us create a great visioning document. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Could you just kind of a little bit about the time commitment, because that was one of the big ones that they were thinking about.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me of that. So we meet once a month regularly. That's the baseline. It's about 2-3 hour commitment, and that's just the subcommittee meetings. So when we break down teams, it might be a further time commitment. And then also there's different community sessions that we're going to be participating in. For instance, there's the visioning session coming up in March. So I would say on average, probably time commitment 2 to 5 hours a month, depending on the month. So, and again, we can be flexible as well. If you want to, stay make a meeting, pass on what your thoughts through me, and you can express it at a meeting. So definitely a lot. We have remote capabilities as well. So again, much as you're willing to donate, I would say, we just like to have a representative from the school board. To help us create a good common vision.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, we really appreciate the invite. I think you're right on. It's important to kind of include the schools since we are a pretty big part of the community.
Any other questions for Bart?
I guess help me. I've embarrassingly not really ever read the master plan that we do have.
Shock.
I know, stunning, right?
Clutching my pearls.
How broad or narrow really is the mandate for what the master plan is meant to be? I mean, on a scale from like on one extreme, it could be like we want this percentage of the town residential and this % commercial, and the residential split up this, to the other extreme of just Newmarket has a long tradition of existence to its residents, and how specific is this actually meant to be?
Usually the master plan is more of a guiding document. So say if you want to do that more restrictive, say the town decided that, say, come up with zoning ordinances that limit growth. So it doesn't really, get into detailed policy at that point. It's more aspirational goals. This is the direction town to go in. So, or planning board, go in this direction. So there's only 2 chapters that are mandatory on the RSA. It's the vision chapter and future land use, existing future land use chapter. Those are the only 2 that have to be adopted periodically. 5 to 10 years is recommended by the ISA. And then there's supplemental chapters that the planning board is allowed to adopt as well. You know, we live in a Dillon state, so I guess what that means is we can only do as many chapters as what the legislature allows us to do. So what the state statutes allow us to do. So we can't like go off course or keep being more creative. So so there's a lot of different like recreation, natural resources, come up with policies and plans for the community facilities. They have a community neighborhood design. So again, it's creative, but kind of in a box at the same time. And so I don't know if I answered the question. So it's more policy, like goal setting and visioning. And this is on directions, whoever that's agreed upon by the planning board through public input.
Okay, thank you. I've just been watching Sean sitting here shaking his head at the idea that I'd never read the master plan.
Okay, well,
Even I read it. We definitely knew what that was before.
Actually, this is the kind of thing we're trying to overcome, like this challenge. So we want to make it accessible to everyone and approachable. So part of the idea is we're going to have 2 sets of documents. One's going to be an online platform that's interactive and pretty more executive summaries or so. And then if you want to get into data and the details, we'll have appendices for that. So the idea is to have someone go on, interface with it, say, okay, I understand which direction the town wants to go in, based on 5 sets of directions, whatever it's not. But then the other side will have a PDF traditional document as well. But the idea again is just to not have this on the shelf, lay it on the shelf, but we want to use it. We want to make it usable, approachable, and understand.
So what are the subcommittees?
Right now, the teams, we have 4 sets of teams, and this is based on chapter. So we have a subcommittee, and within that subcommittee, we broke it up. And I have no idea, I don't remember them all. But the chapters that we're going to work on, housing, existing future land use, economic development, natural resources, which includes open space, water, wildlife, arts and culture, and historic resources, downtown riverfront design, community facilities and utilities, energy, transportation, and recreation.
Since you're working in like teams and subcommittees, how are you ensuring at the end it's like an integrated whole as opposed to like work that's occurred in the silos and doesn't necessarily balance each other?
Yeah, so these don't have to be adopted right away, so we can work on them and wait till the end. So we're having this discussion right now. Our first approach was maybe have the plan board on a rolling basis adopt the chapters, but we may not do that approach. We may just have everything in draft form, and then at the end make sure there's all that integration and working together. So that's the idea.
That's
and
different
than
than
the visioning too. We'll start with the vision, but at the same time keep that vision open based on conversations throughout. This is a 2-year period, by the way. So just make sure what you're getting stuff into. And make sure we maybe close the vision at the end as well. Just make sure everything lines up.
It's different than how it was done in the past, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, we're taking a new approach here.
And one of the things that Bart and I did chat about a couple weeks ago, because we had discussed at the board table the idea of potentially having a chapter about the schools. And after kind of reviewing things with Bart, it sounds like there's lots of influence that the schools are going to have in multiple of the categories. So rather than adding a whole separate chapter, there would be influence to be had in multiple areas.
Right.
So
that's the idea right now. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts or questions for Bart?
Just one more thing. This is for Phil, actually. Part of this is implementation as well. Again, trying not to let this plan sit on the bookshelf and collect dust. So, part of what we're building into this is the comprehensive implementation matrix. So it's a checklist that the capital improvement plan committee can look at when the department heads are making requests. Say, okay, are you following what the master plan is doing? And also encouraging each department within the town to have their own master plan that aligns with this, kind of a institutional master plan that aligns with this planning board's community. that's something that's going to be new and I think very beneficial for the town too.
The minute you said matrix and checklist, I knew that was going to
Operationalization too. It's one of my favorite words.
All right.
So, any other questions?
Thank you very much.
Thanks
Thank
for coming
you.
by. I
Thanks so
really
much.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Awesome. I do have a few other items I wanted to just address in my superintendent report. Just want to start sharing some good news. And sometimes the good news I get to share sounds kind of ho-hum, but when you look at it from the side of administering a school system, it's really important. We got a letter yesterday telling us that we were 100% compliant with the DOE Indicator 13, which is to do with our special education program. And that's a big deal. That speaks to the quality work Erica McNeil, Jean Civiello, Christina Cochran, and all of our case managers do to make sure we're doing things the right way. And so 100% compliance. And that was the first time through, because usually you get a report and you have to make adjustments. So that was pretty exciting. A second a piece of good news we got, that we also heard from the DOE. They have reviewed our audit report. And again, it's a big deal on the management side. It doesn't sound too exciting from the outside world, but there were no areas of concern in our management of state, federal, and local funds, meaning we're doing everything we're supposed to. In fact, when you don't hear about your finance office, that's usually a good thing because you're managing things so well. So I just wanted to commend Jana and her team for that. Couple of other things I wanted to mention. I had the opportunity to go to the elementary school concert last night. It was wonderful to see. Morgan King does an amazing job over there. We had a choral performance as well as the band. But one of the things that really stood out in my mind was that the high school and elementary school unified arts teammates were there. So Tony Foy, Brent Branscombe, Nancy Miller, Annette Blake, they were all there to help facilitate the program. And to me, that screams collaborative efforts and a program that's really, posturing to grow. I do want to mention, I think I mentioned it in my January report, but if I didn't, I'll mention it again. I did go to the junior, senior high concerts in December. They were also just, I can't tell you the growth that we've seen year over year in the program. So I'm very excited for the future of our music program. So congratulations to all of our music educators and many of our unified arts people who are there helping out. I did want to give a quick update on our January 23rd workshop day because I think there's a lot of really good stuff that was accomplished there. I mean, we started with a stand-up comedy. We had Justin McKinney come in and did a stand-up set for the staff. It was hysterically funny to have somebody who has lived the Newmarket school system sort of talk with educators about some of the experiences they had. He had the whole crowd rolling. It was a great way to open the day and really get people in the mood to talk about the vision of a graduate, because naturally that's what you think about when but we had a really, really good day. We spent the morning doing vertical conversations. So the entire district, that included all of our paraeducators, tutors, as well as all of our teachers, spent 2.5 hours kind of just talking about what was happening in their area, and specifically in terms of how do you make the vision of a graduate a reality in each subject area. Now, we prefaced the day by telling people, don't expect we're going to have a lot of takeaways here. We got to start by visioning what we want, and so there are a lot of great ideas being bandied about. So very excited at those conversations. I think the challenge for us is to make sure vertical conversations are not a once-a-year thing. We got to make sure people are talking on a regular basis, and that was one of the big things that was a takeaway for me. People saying, yeah, this was great. Can we do it again real soon? So we got to find a way to do that, and we'll work to make that happen. The other thing which was really exciting was our elementary school staff started down the road of a process to develop a school growth plan for the system. As I mentioned before, in NEASC, the junior senior high already had developed one as part of the requirements, and what we've realized is both schools would benefit from having a coherent plan. So they're in the process of working on that. We've contracted with New Hampshire Learning Initiative. A guy named John Vander Els is working with us to help facilitate that, but we anticipate having a school growth plan for the elementary school by this spring to share with you. And obviously we'll have an updated version of what the junior senior high came up with connected to that. So one of the things I'm really trying to foster in a lot of our conversation is we've got to constantly be thinking about what am I going to do better tomorrow than I did today? How can we keep heading in that direction? Perfection is not necessarily the goal. But we got to start aspiring to something greater than what we are, and it's very exciting to start seeing some of those things to percolate. So very excited about that. A couple of other things I wanted to mention to you. We talked last time about the trustees of the trust funds. I want to take a couple of minutes to update you on a couple of things. First of all, I do want to just say Bill Tappan is a really remarkable finance director for this town, and I spent quite a bit of time with Bill kind of talking this through. The trustee of the trust funds, they are definitely heading in the right direction now. I really feel they are. Just to give you some updates since that time, they are in the process of revising and adopting their investment policy, which will basically drive how they distribute our trust funds. They have moved all of the town's funds from I believe TD Bank to Cambridge Trust, which is a company that specializes in this kind of thing. They are very aware, because Jana went to their meeting and brought to their attention, but I've also had a number of follow-up conversations of the unique needs of the school district trust funds and the importance of our being able to access those funds when we need to. I think one of the things that I heard from the board at our last meeting was just the surprise at how little interest we had earned on those funds. Our next statement will be dramatically different. Right now, all of the money has been shifted to money market accounts, making about 4.5% to 5%, while they make decisions on how to distribute the portfolio. But just to give you an idea, I mean, in 1 month, it was about a $30,000 return on those. So it's a dramatic difference. So expect when Jana does her quarterly report for the first time, probably it'll be in April when she does her next quarterly, expect to see a much higher return on those interest investments. So I feel very, very positively about that. Any questions on that?
So they're changed our account. You said the town, county, and school.
Well, the trustee of the trust funds are elected by the community.
Right.
So they manage all the trust funds of both the school district. Right. So we don't manage our own trust funds.
No, I know that.
So they manage it. So basically, it's one. All of the trust funds collectively are about $8 million that the town of Newmarket manages.
But they're separate.
Well, in terms of our access to them, yes. But in terms of how they develop their portfolio, they're trying to diversify to make sure they're maximizing the proceeds. Our concern was if they tied too much of the money up in long-term things that would prevent us from accessing it. When we had an emergency that said, gee, we got a roof that needs to be replaced, we might lose money by taking the money out. And they have assured us there'll be plenty of liquidity in the fund so that should not be a problem, because the vast majority, or not the vast majority, but a significant amount of the town's funds are tied up more long-term. They don't have as many of them that they need immediate access. Our funds, we do need the capacity to have immediate access without financial loss.
But they manage the money
But they
as
manage
one
them
group.
separately.
Right, they manage it as one
It's all
group.
one group of money.
It's
But
one
how
group of
can
money.
they manage both the school funds and the town funds and know what interest went to our funds?
I mean, but it's even like
You know what I mean?
every trust fund is also individualized, right? So like
Yeah.
you can't mix and mingle.
Yeah,
They are. You
that's
can't for
where it
purposes
was
of
confusing.
expenditure.
You're not putting them all together, all those
I think they
funds,
are.
right?
But that's I think there's an accounting, the accounting work of like, okay, does it get distributed according to the different trust funds? And there's the management of the bulk of the money, which I think they're handling that as a whole, but they're
individually.
accounting for it individually.
Yes.
Correct.
So like, presumably, they probably do is they say X interest rate was X interest is gained on the money as a whole. School has 50% of the money,
Right, I see
they get
what you
50% of the
mean.
interest.
It's similar to like when we have our student activity accounts.
Right.
There's really one account, but internally we're tracking all of the individual accounts, and so it's similar. So my point was, I'm not going to tell you I'm an expert on how the trustees are currently managing their money, but I just wanted to come back to it because I know there was concern raised, and I wanted to let you know that I had done some homework on it. I feel pretty confident that they made some really good decisions. that I think are going to benefit us soon, and hopefully the next time Jan is reporting to us on the status of our trust funds, you will have a different response to our earned income.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I have 2 questions, and I perfectly understand too that this is perhaps probably better answered by them. My first one is just with that knowledge about that the school funds may be treated differently than the town funds because of access. Is that knowledge being passed down from trustee to trustee as they may change?
When they adopt their investment policy, that is where they determine the distribution of things. So what they basically are trying to do is to determine what level of liquidity that they need to maintain so that there's resources there for immediate access. So the percentage of the whole portfolio. I don't know the exact distribution because they're still making those decisions, but they have assured us that there will be ample liquidity in the plan that will allow us, if we need to access.
I think you're talking about continuity of leadership.
Exactly.
Right.
I'm guessing like that knowledge, like someone walk in and say, well, like we have this part of the fund that's only earning a very small percentage because it's so liquid. Why don't we just pump in with the larger one? And no one ever telling you no, there's a reason for that.
Well, I think it's an ongoing process, so I don't think there's one of the things that in discussions with Bill and with Steve Fournier, wanting the school district to have more of an ongoing presence as part of the management of that. So I do think we have to continue to keep our kind of nose in the discussions. So people are elected, people change. So again, the policy dictates sort of how they make their decisions. Do they fully understand the needs of the district year over year? I think we have to make sure that we communicate that to them.
Yeah. I'm sorry. My other question, what about management of risk? Is that written somewhere that?
That's all part of the policy they're developing.
Okay.
So yeah, there's clearly, if you want maximum interest, you're going to take on maximum risk. And if you want a more consistent, like a money market account is a pretty conservative thing. So they're making decisions about what percentage of it to distribute in what ways. So yes, there is some risk taken, but with the idea of looking at the big picture of how much interest income do we want to generate through this whole fund.
I guess that my concerns I have are, I went to look up meeting minutes and agendas. There's like years I was just missing. So I really would like someone to speak to that, maybe Bill could.
Well, actually, if you go there now, you will see that the minutes from it has been fixed. Yes.
Oh, okay.
You are absolutely correct that as of our last meeting, 2018 was the last time there was something on the website to reflect it. You'll see now the 23, 24 years have all been populated. Which is not to say, by the way, that there was no minutes being kept. They just weren't keeping the website up to date.
Well,
I
it
think
just seemed
that's
weird how
important.
they had some minutes from their last meeting and then years missing in between. It just seems kind of strange
Yes.
because Jana attended that meeting.
Yep.
That one meeting I found,
Yes.
and then previous years weren't.
I think
So-
that's where the continuity of
Yeah.
Yeah, I
leadership
mean,
has caused an issue in a few different boards in the town.
right. Doesn't all of this point to the thing we were discussing last time, that the trustees need some sort of formal support from someone who is not elected on a periodic basis, from somebody who it's just a position in the town that is responsible for things like, hey, did we get the minutes posted? Hey, did we?
And I think
That's
But even
Bill.
but
And I
even
think
then,
Bill is inserting
Yeah.
himself in that now.
Okay.
but even
That's-
then, at some point, one person's going to leave in the town, and that stuff can fall
Well,
into.
but I mean, if the responsibility follows the position as opposed to the individual, that's,
Yeah.
that's what we have for the council. That's what we have as a board. That's less so the budget committee, but
Well, you bring up one of the discussion items that we'll talk about soon, too, actually.
Yeah.
So,
And
turns
then
out.
I did have just a couple of other
Yeah,
quick
please.
things I wanted to mention. Our next board meeting will not be in this location. Our next board meeting will be in the council chambers back in the town hall. We will then be back here for one more meeting on March 7th. But one of the things that we have discovered is that our being here every Thursday or every other Thursday is having an impact on some of the programming options that can be made available. So we are going to move back out into the cafetorium starting the second meeting in March. And I know one of the issues that had come up previously, besides the heat, which we'll talk about that separately, was the sound quality, because there's an echo. I did have Jason Carey and Tim Kremen and Dave Riley. We met and reviewed options, and we have a plan to improve sound quality. Basically what it involves is adding a couple of speakers that are directed back at the board table, so we will not be behind the speakers. It will be coming towards us, so we will be able to hear each other much better. And then when we get to summer, when it gets hot again, obviously there won't be a programming here. We'll move back in here during the hot months because there's air conditioning here in the library. So I just wanted to mention that for your benefit, but I also wanted to mention that for the public's benefit, because I know one of our concerns is not wanting to have our meeting locations moved so regularly that people don't know where we are. So next meeting, Town Council Chambers, back here March 7th. After that, cafetorium until summer. Okay? And I think I will stop there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Speaking of meetings, just a reminder, February 3rd, Saturday, deliberative session, 10 o'clock, right there.
The town's at
Time's at 9 o'clock, yeah. All right, has anyone received any correspondence?
I just had a few people stop me and say how much they appreciate the information on the budget flyer and the email that was sent out.
Oh, that's great. How do you get people to talk to you?
No.
Maybe I need to leave the house, I don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting. Great. As Bart just mentioned, we are looking for a master plan committee representative. Out of the three of you.
So
A lot.
It is a lot. I'm wondering if maybe there's an opportunity to rotate a little bit at some point.
seems like
I'm interested. So I'll say that.
I nominate Phil.
Second that.
yeah, certainly favor that. You probably should not be in the CIP next year at the same time, but unless you really wanted to. But
Yeah, I guess we could talk about that next year.
yeah, that's great if you're interested in it.
It is, I think, a critical document for
It really
the
is.
shared vision of the community. All planning, all zoning should come out of it. All should be based on it.
Yeah.
And I think we've had conversations in the past about how in unintended consequences of certain types of zoning resulting in potential impacts on the student body here, and I think that our voice is in the master plan. So.
Speaking of which, I believe the town sent out a survey for residents to fill out, so
Check your email if you haven't and fill it out.
Actually, Bart sent it to me, and I pushed it out again through the school district as well, so
great.
some people got it twice.
Vote early, vote often.
fantastic. All right. Recently, Andrew talked to me about forming some kind of document or location to have documents, so we just kind of ensure that continuity between boards. It's about when things occur, and maybe to help new board members on board and understand kind of what the flow of the board is and that sort of thing. As it turns out, I think last year I happened to work on a document kind of along those lines, and Todd and I talked about it. We added it to the agenda. We talked about where it should live. Although the document can be posted anywhere, we thought probably having it. So let me rephrase it. The document could be posted anywhere. If we wanted to have it on the website as a prominent document, that should probably live within the policies as an R document. So we included it as a new board member orientation, BIAR, and I believe it is the third page in your document.
Is it? So look at the calendar. I think this needs a little bit of updating, and that
well,
superintendent goals do not seem to align with.
A few things need updating.
Yeah.
It talks about the previous
Yeah.
It talks about the previous superintendent. It talks about there's a few things that have changed that needs to be updated.
Can I thank you for this. And I'm glad that this is something that someone else is thinking about as well. And I remember when I was first on board, I was doing a mine and everything. It was overwhelming. and knowing too that like basically right very shortly after we get elected, you have a very quick meeting, and just not quite sure, okay, what do I need to know? And it'd be very nice is if like, well, what Gary has started here with the calendar, I would really like just a very short summary of each committee and like kind of like not only the responsibility but also the commitments. So when that is, when those are assigned, the person has more knowledge, but also there's no more question exactly what that part of the board is supposed to do. I feel like we have a really good flow going on with this board. We've got Todd's guidance is really good about the fact like what our lanes are. It would just be nice if there's a place that's going to be very quickly to pass the information on to someone else. Yeah.
So, as you pointed out, it does need probably a fair bit of revision. Should the policy committee take that up, or I could certainly revise it and pass it on? Obviously, we shouldn't have too many people working on it, but it seems like it could be the policy committee. But
I mean, it's an R document to a policy, so
True.
it would be like unconventional for it not to be a policy committee.
true. Yeah.
Would there be room to add this on to the meeting at the end of this one?
Would you guys be okay with the meeting maybe being an extra half hour longer, just so we could do that? Just
What
'cause
day is that meeting again?
It's the February 20, it's right before the February break, like 21st or 22nd.
22nd.
I can't remember what, it's the Thursday before
Yeah,
break.
yeah.
It's good 20.
Probably make that work.
Yeah, fine.
Okay.
That's not during the board break, is it?
No, it's the week before that. It's just that we have a bunch of financial policies to review that, which I know is fun. You
You're
guys
going
love.
out with a bang, Andrew.
Well, the other option is Andrew could
Just found I have
maybe.
another meeting to go to, so I thought this is my last one.
Sorry, I burst your bubble, man.
I mean, the other option is Andrew could provide some comments, and those could be passed on to the next policy committee if you don't have time to do it.
I think we can make time. I just was more, we meet once a month and just
Yeah.
making sure we had enough time. But yeah,
Yeah,
we can take a look at it
We may.
beforehand and we can figure it out.
thanks.
Awesome. So I think we should probably strike that as a first read, because I don't think it's
Well, no,
anywhere
this
near first read.
is it listed as a first read? No, because
Yeah, well, there must be an R there by mistake then.
that's a different policy. That's the.
Oh, you're right. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah.
Thank you.
On the new board member orientation page, we have more pages, page 30 maybe. Could we put Robert Lewis in there? You know, I know they can access it online, but just put it in there just so they can.
So everyone's in favor, it sounds like, of that, so we'll pause and take a look at it, moving along. School board policy first reads CBIR, evaluation of superintendent revised, or revision, excuse me. Does the policy committee want to discuss that?
So if you guys recall, we approved the CBI policy about the evaluation of the superintendent not too long ago, and in it, the idea was that prior to the election, so in February, we would write up a written evaluation of the superintendent, which is required by law. And with that, we had narrowed down the standards or indicators from 10 down to 4. The purpose of this R document was to clarify exactly what each indicator would be. So there's a general description and also kind of specific evidence to help us as board members to understand exactly what that could possibly look like. If you notice at the introduction at the very top, we really try to clarify that those evidence is clearly suggestions to help the board start thinking about what they wanted, and it was not necessarily required that people is only these, as well as that there should be any expectation that all of these would be looked at. Phil did email this afternoon recommending one edit. In the second paragraph, the first asterisk.
No, the one before that, the last line of
Yeah,
that.
tell me please.
Yeah, so the last sentence of the first paragraph, it starts, "This list should not be seen as comprehensive." I just suggested that the next phrase is, "Nor should a superintendent or board member attempt to gather all the examples cited." I forget the exact verbiage I used, but like something basically like, "Nor is it expected that a superintendent or board should attempt to gather all." So like, it doesn't, saying "nor should," even though it's an our document, sounds very much just like, don't you dare try to do this, which is like, but as opposed to like, it's not expected. The expectation is not.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You get that, because the last one, the our document didn't make it super clear whether or not the expectation was to gather all that information. Hence, I remember the first one that we did when I was on the board, we tried to gather it on everything. I think it just made it sound a little less.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you said that. Yeah. Are you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Oh, is Todd okay with that?
Yeah, I think that's more in line with, I think, what the intent was in that statement. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's not create this gauntlet of evidence gathering.
Right.
I think as we talked about it, as we were developing the policy, was the idea was the interactions over the course of the year through the board is the evidence. So we're talking, so it's not done as a summative thing, it's done as a process over the course of a year.
Yeah, and one thing that we did discuss at the last meeting was just kind of talking about making sure that in that first paragraph we clarify that this is to complement the goals that are set by both the board and the superintendent at the beginning of the year, so that would be the March, April time period, and that is not going to be in addition to. So for those three of you guys that have not necessarily been part of this process, I guess why this is good about clarifying some of those questions and confusion that we have the first time we did this.
You want to go right to IKF? Graduate requirements?
You want to do this one?
Yeah, absolutely. You may recall last year we revised IKF to reduce total credit requirements gradually over the course of the 4 years. We dropped this year's seniors, the graduation requirement dropped from 28.25 to 27 credits. Next year's seniors will be 26. The year after that it's 25, and the kids that are coming in as 9th graders this year, they're required to have 24 credits. The logic in that was to bring up Newmarket more in line with pretty much everybody else, where we had a very high level of credit requirement. We knew at that point that lowering the credit requirement was only one piece of it, and that as we reviewed and revised our program of studies, we would also need to tweak other things. And so this is by no means the end, but it is where we are at right now. You may recall at our last meeting, Andy presented, or actually the first meeting in January, excuse me, Andy presented the program of studies, and with it he attached a memo, and there were a couple of things that we discussed as needing to change right away because of where we're at in program development. So basically, what are the changes? One is there had been a requirement for a half credit in a writing course, separate from the 4 credits that were required in English. So effectively what it was doing is it was saying you had to take 4.5 credits of English to graduate from high school. That is more than state standards require, and in conversation with our English department, they recognize that writing is embedded in all English courses, and you don't need a separate standalone writing course. You can offer a standalone writing course, but it doesn't need to be a requirement of graduation to ensure that kids get that. So one thing is to do away with that half credit required course in writing. The other change was looking at the math requirement. Prior to this, Newmarket had said all kids had to have 4 credits of math. It basically saying that you had to have 4 years of a math of math credits in order to graduate, and it did not take advantage of the change in requirements that the state had created for what is called a math-intensive experience. So basically what the law requires is that kids have to do 4 years of math, 3 credits in math, and 1 additional year in a math-intensive course, such as personal finance, physics, chemistry, things that have math as a big component in it. So by having it, by changing it the way we did, it actually, for a demographic of kids that that struggle with math, it actually opens the door for them. The profile we discussed at the policy meeting was a student who, for whatever reason, does not succeed in algebra the first time around and needs to retake it. Well, once that has happened, you can't meet the requirement in 4 years without doubling up on math. And if you're struggling with math, doubling up on it is probably not a recipe to get you to be successful at it. So this allows for a kid to have 3 credits of math and a 4th year math experience. Doesn't preclude a student that is excited about math and technology and wanting to take extra math, because we have a lot of those kids. It's not preventing it, it's just the core requirement is more flexible. So in the end, those are the changes. Andy did talk with us about a freshman seminar, and we did talk a little bit about whether or not that should be made a requirement, and we decided not to add it into the requirements at this point. It is going to be strongly encouraged for all freshmen as a way to help kids learn about things like how to use the library and technology and all of those kind of things. But we realized that if you make it a requirement and it's offered to freshmen, any kid that transfers into our school in their junior or senior year is like, we were going to force them to go back and take freshman seminar, which creates another awkwardness. So we can accomplish the same thing without having to mandate it. So those are the changes, and yes, and I'm happy to take any questions.
So the credit is 1.5 credits, right?
What are you talking about?
That we have less of for the year 2024?
Well,
What
the
was
total
the
number of
writing?
credits, the total number of credits to graduate is still the same as it was based on what we changed last year.
Right.
What we're changing is requirements. So you're not required to have an additional half year of a writing course,
Right.
and you're not required to have 4 years of math.
No, I thought you said at the beginning of your conversation that you said a credit in a quarter, but it's really a credit in half, isn't it?
Well,
That way eliminating?
well, in 2023, the graduates from 2023 were required to have 28 and a quarter credits to graduate. The quarter credit was a course it was called Career Studies,
Yeah.
but it really was not being monitored particularly much. So it was, in many ways, it was for lack of a better term, a made-up thing. So we lowered from 28 and a quarter down to 27. So this year's seniors do not have that extra 1 and a quarter credits, and I'm assuming there's a little bit more flexibility with 1 less credit.
A lot of kids have been able to take more classes that they'd prefer to take instead of the classes that they're forced to take.
Yeah. And
More
I think
study labs to get more homework done. So.
Yeah, and I think that's really the intention. I think one of in my personal view, the issue is getting kids engaged in their learning. It's not mandating that they fill their time with courses, and I think we can, by having 28 and a quarter credits, I think we confused how you engage kids. Kids that are passionate and excited about stuff, they take classes. That's not the problem. The issue is to create the structure that's flexible enough so all kids can find the things that they are excited about, and hopefully that's starting to happen.
Awesome. Any other discussions on that?
This is what, Todd, we had discussed moving the civics requirement. It's on the 3rd page of the document. I'm actually on the 2nd page of the document, directly underneath the list of total credits.
Right.
We decided not to.
Well, and this may be where you and I remember it differently than you, but I'm happy to make that change if you want to. What was lacking was there was no heading that said there was a civics requirement, so we added the civic, but certainly moving that paragraph is fine, we can do that. Is there a place that you wanted it to be moved to?
So what I was thinking, please someone speak up if they make this decision. that since that is a graduation requirement, it should be closer to
Oh, I hear what
the
you're
top
saying.
of the policy where the requirements to graduate are listed. Whereas once we get to the state-defined alternative diploma, we start talking about kind of more the nitty-gritty.
Right.
Does that make sense?
So, but there's a lot of state requirements. I guess my question is, and this is probably, I missed the last policy meeting because we're working with it. A lot of things that are built inside of our requirements are state requirements that we don't call out in separate paragraphs. Is it the newness of the civics requirement that has us calling out as a separate paragraph?
Well, and it's not built into a credit. It's built into an assessment. So we have to identify the
assessment.
assessment. It's a separate tool.
Yeah, okay.
So
There it
basically,
is.
every kid graduating from New Hampshire High School must pass the civics assessment, which is basically the naturalization test with a 70%.
It's above and beyond the civics requirement that's built into the social studies requirement.
The previous standard basically allowed that you could have an assessment built into your civics class, and assuming the kid succeeded at that, that's all that was required.
Yeah.
But then they shifted away from letting it be locally controlled to say, okay, now we all have to pass the same assessment. So we wanted to make sure it was higher profile.
Or sometimes you get someone coming from a state where civics is typically taken earlier in high school.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden, New Hampshire has to take the civics exam.
Yeah.
So, have you taken it?
The naturalization test?
Yeah.
Yeah, I took it last year.
Good job.
Does
Studied
any-
for like 20 minutes and got like a 98. I don't know. It was pretty
Are you
basic.
showing off, or is it just not easy?
It's just that
It was
good.
pretty simple.
Does anyone else feel like that sort of brings things full circle? Because in third grade, everyone immigrates to the United States, and then
good
before
point.
you graduate, you have to get
And the
naturalized.
timetable's similar, so that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
That makes sense, Andrew. I think putting it higher, I don't think anyone's going to go that far into these.
So are you suggesting
These
putting
documents,
it
but-
prior to state-defined alternate diploma, putting it in right there?
yes.
Okay, I will put it there.
Is there a reason it's in red?
Because there was no heading.
Oh, there's no heading and
It was
that's
just a
added.
paragraph, so we added a heading
Ah,
because there was
gotcha.
none
Yes.
to describe it.
I'm with you. I'll learn how this stuff works. One day.
You've only had on the board, what,
4 years.
4 years, yeah.
So I am. It takes me 7 or 8 years to really get good at something. Something simple. If the board will allow it, I'd like to add discussion item 5, discussion of superintendent evaluation. We do have that as a non-public item, but I think there's a portion of that conversation that we should have publicly, such as maybe who's going to write a document and if there's going to be a document. So, is everyone okay if we add that?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm just looking at our policy, and the superintendent evaluation says prior to March 1st of each year, the board will conduct a written evaluation of the superintendent, providing feedback on progress towards meeting the established goals of a given year, which we don't have this year, or overall job performance. So, based on our revised policy, we should write up a formal document that provided to the superintendent, and we can certainly discuss the nuances of that document in non-public, or if everyone's happy, we could even discuss it here. So is that something I presume we're trying to do this year?
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Process, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we certainly could say everybody could say we're happy.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, we kind of envisioned a fairly similar process that we did last time where board members sent their individual responses to in this case, the 4 indicators to an individual. That individual then would summarize it, provide a rough draft of it, and then that would then be finalized in the non-public.
I'm good with that process. I'd also say, I know we had the conversation, the coaching conversation the last time. I don't know, did not take robust notes. I don't know if anyone did, but I'm sure, I think we got the general consensus. Maybe in the future, maybe not for this one because we didn't have anyone taking robust notes in it, but someone could just gather that conversation, codify it in a document, circulate it to make sure it accounts for.
Yeah, I feel like we all have similar thoughts, and it would be probably pretty easy for someone, individual, to articulate. Well, someone who can articulate this. Would anyone be interested in doing that?
Yeah, I can take a first crack at it.
Fantastic.
But one, you want us to Someone go over the last time where we sent our thoughts, each indicator to you?
I mean, yeah, I mean, if there's something that anyone feels strongly about, then by all means send it along, and I'll make sure that it gets incorporated.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm certainly with Phil that anything I discussed, I think we all had similar thoughts about it, and you probably could articulate it based on your feelings, so. But if you have any, yeah, people should, certainly.
Is there a
Yeah.
certain date you'd like to apply?
We're running out of time. It is March 1st.
Yeah, I mean,
February 1st. And
We
We only have so
Like-
many meetings left.
say by Wednesday, Thursday of next week.
so if we had it done by February 15th
Yep.
for that meeting to vote, so yeah.
And then I'm afraid I might have to ask for a favor. I'm unfortunately not going to be able to attend next meeting. Is there a way I can see the evaluation documents
Yeah, I'm
before
We probably should
I don't know.
Send it out to everyone prior to that meeting as meeting materials. We do that?
We can send it out. We just
We just
cannot
can't comment.
respond
Correct,
to each
yeah.
other on it.
yes.
You can send out the draft prior to that meeting.
Great, thank you.
and you
Just
could
know
write-
that if we email something that is discoverable in any way, shape, or request.
Yeah.
So I should not send an email back to Dan and say, why are we complaining
We
about
can't
John
email
Johnson?
each other and start trying to make a conversation
But
about
we-
No,
it.
but even if we email, if he has a draft of that document and then emails it to all of us, that is
But that is
discoverable.
But if
Right.
Andrew replies and says, I think
it
these
too-
parts should be,
Applying is an unofficial
one
meeting,
person.
and that's like
well,
that's,
only
that's
if
different.
one person does
Yeah.
it.
I'm just saying, do we want his evaluation to be discoverable?
You could have Patty, just give it to Patty Banfield and she shares it with you guys and keeps me out of it.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
Well,
it's still.
it's still
would be-
discoverable.
yeah.
It is.
Well,
Yeah.
except that it's not originating from a board member. It's no different than the
Yeah.
backup material because it's until you approve it, it's not a public document.
Yeah, but the materials.
But this would, well, the backup materials for a board meeting generally are yes. But if you're in the process of writing a draft,
Yeah.
I don't know.
my understanding is
Yeah.
that that would be considered, it's a personnel matter until you officially adopt it and say
Okay.
this is the evaluation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then the evaluation
It's possible.
could be,
Yeah.
But
I just I could see, not in this current climate, but other climates, like
Sure.
rights no request, like every email and attachments associated with the superintendent between this date and that date.
But I think it's fine for you alone to email him with
Yeah.
your comments. We
Yes.
shouldn't all email
Yeah.
him, because then we could get,
And I mean, Phil, at that point, I think it's incumbent on council to say, well,
Yeah.
this is a personnel matter,
Personnel
it gets
matter.
redacted.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, good point. Redacting.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
Sorry, I was just being.
Yeah, no, it's
extra
a good,
cautious,
it's a
but-
good discussion.
So we're not there yet, but I'm presuming we don't need a non-public based on this conversation. Okay, awesome. I know this meeting's very short. I apologize. We've tried to fill it up.
We have another meeting on Saturday. I don't have to
I got a half hour
apologize. Sure.
stuff.
Yeah.
Next up, we have a acknowledgement of a generous donation by the Newmarket Athletic Boosters. They provided $500 to pay for bus transportation up to, it's probably one to Groveton.
Colbrook.
Was it Colbrook?
I thought it was Groveton.
Groveton,
Groveton.
thank you.
Yeah.
Way up there, that's
Yeah.
all I can say.
3 hours.
Yeah. So, thank you very much.
I know the players commented very fondly on the bus, if not necessarily the tires.
Yes, they did.
There's another one from you.
Well,
Well, actually,
approved.
I have to approve it
Yeah.
right now.
Next up, I'll open and close the floor at 6:15 for public comment. Seeing no member of the public here. And then we can head into action items. Seek a motion to approve the January 18th public and non-public minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Dan. Any discussion, amendments, revisions, corrections?
I didn't see anything.
I had a couple
I had some.
small ones if I can find it.
Above that.
Yeah. There was a, try to put them in red so they're very obvious. It was minor, it was just a friendly correction, so.
which apparently didn't get saved when I put it in there. So it's not that important. Oh, well, that doesn't matter. No, I'm good.
That's an unfriendly correction.
Unfriendly, fair enough. Friendly correction, what do they call it?
I'd like to make an unfriendly amendment.
Get unfriendly with you in a minute. Oh, that's what it was. So with we discussed the courtyard project, and there's a comment in here that I had said, here it is. I indicated that the discussion was whether or not we should continue spending any funds in the courtyard, and it said that.
Wait, what page is this on?
Oh, I'm sorry. This is page 19 in your document, page 4 of the minutes. It's under new design of this courtyard. Second paragraph up before the end of the page. As Gary Swanson indicated, an output from the board during this meeting would be whether or not any further funds should be spent on design or anything else of this nature with the architect. It's not exactly, I think what I said or meant, I think it was any funds with pretty much any third parties in designing the courtyard or
Yeah, I remember.
studies or anything of that
Yeah,
nature.
that was actually what I wanted to, that was mine too.
So in other words, I don't think we should spend any more money on it, with the exception of
Yeah.
maybe having internal people like Dave do some research and
Yeah, I think that, or anything of this nature. It's,
yeah.
I think what you were saying is you don't want to like bring in an architect or something. Like, I think,
Not just an architect, but I don't think we should be spending any more money on site studies or
Yeah.
drainage reviews or architects or soil samples or anything of that nature until Dave and whoever takes the opportunity to.
right. I think the next paragraph gets to Superintendent Allen took action item
Yeah.
to work with Dave to explore
Yeah.
low cost, right? Like,
Yeah. So I
Just eliminate that.
I mean, technically I did say it, so.
Well, you didn't say it that way.
But no, if you just say maybe no more funds should be spent on the design.
Yeah,
Courtyard
that's,
project, maybe?
I mean, that was an opinion expressed, but there wasn't any official decision
That's
the
fair
board
enough.
made.
Well, true, but
you don't think it represents your opinion well.
exactly. Thank you. So maybe just spent on designs. Leave it at that.
Sure.
I felt like there was a consensus with the board, but you're right, we didn't formally vote on it.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that was it. There may have been a tiny one in non-public, but oh, that was the other one. Wonder if we can include Sean's title. I feel like Amy and I were pretty confused sometimes. We were reviewing old minutes and didn't know who the heck a person was. And without the title, in 10 years when someone reviews this, it might be like, Sean Benson, who was that? So maybe we could put his title, student rep.
Okay.
excellent idea.
Any more discussion other than Gary's meanderings? All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We have a manifest somewhere.
I move to approve the manifest in the total of $522,732.62.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Andrew. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
There is a exciting 5th grade trip. Todd, do you want to talk about that for a minute?
Yes, this is a traditional trip. 5th grade goes down to the Peabody Essex Museum down in Salem, Mass. By law and policy, because they're leaving the state of New Hampshire, this is a trip that has to be approved by the board.
Who are the teachers who are chaperoning the trip?
Bear with me, I gotta get to the page. It's the whole 5th grade.
I think that's changed quite a bit since my kids were
Well, no,
there.
I think, what's his name? His teacher was there.
It'd be,
Oh my God, that was like,
you put me on the spot. June Williamson. Let's see.
Wait, she's in
Nick.
fifth?
Nick.
Miss Williamson
No.
is in
Fourth.
I'm
It's
sorry,
four,
sorry,
yeah,
sorry,
it's like
sorry,
fifth.
sorry.
Mr. Jones.
yes.
Yeah, Jones.
Mr. Jones,
That's
thank
who I was
you.
thinking of.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved it.
But it's the entire 5th grade team. The entire 5th grade.
Okay.
So look it up online.
Can I ask you a question? I think this is an awesome idea. I was curious, is there any form or anything where teachers are gonna go on field trips need to match up what they're doing in the field trip with like curriculum or competencies.
Are you asking me like a specific part in the process where when they're proposing a trip that it's tied to curriculum, you mean?
Yeah, is there?
I would be, yeah, I don't, there isn't a formal step in the process at this point. There is a formal step where they obviously propose the
Right.
trip. I think a lot of the experiences like this one is one that they did last year. It's just one they do every year.
Oh,
Is that something you've done in your?
I mean, it
Yeah.
ties into the 5th grade, social studies standards around, U.S. history and so forth. And PBD Essex has the witch trials, and it has all kinds of colonial history and all of that. It's.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited. I was up and vote for this. I was just curious during the process if there was. I don't know in the past in some districts I have, and others I haven't.
So I seek a motion to approve the 5th grade class trip.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Amy, second by Dan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And next up, we have a very generous donation of $1,500 from the American Heart Association for our amazing Newmarket Elementary School jump rope demonstration team's travel expenses.
Pretty awesome.
So I would seek a motion to approve that donation.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Phil, second by Amy. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Passes. Reminder, deliberative session Saturday. Next board meeting, February 15th, Town Hall, Chambers. And I would seek unless there's any other items anyone has.
Just one question. Saturday, are we on at 10?
We're on at 10. Town at 9, school at 10.
Yep.
I'd seek a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Phil, second by Amy. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
With that, we are adjourned at 6:23 p.m.
Lord.
What are we going to do with the rest of our
No
evening?
idea.